Shirt. There'll probably be no one on there, but
Yeah,
it'll be recorded.
yeah.
Mhm.
Casey looks like a schlub today.
Shirt.
Should be.
On Zoom. Got it clicked off. How's the babies? Yep, right over there. How old are they? Yes, that's right. Are they really? Jesus. We're good. Oh, my God. Look like
We are live and ready to go.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and we'll call our workshop meeting to order. It is 10:05.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're in a workshop today for the bylaws. And I've got Megan here helping me out too as we go through the language. It's quite entertaining going through these since they haven't, I mean, I can't tell if they haven't been revised since 1979. But there's a lot of stuff in here. There's some stuff in here that some changes that have happened. And just a communication for, I was looking at the terms as far as, I was pulling up because I have and I went to Sally too, but your term is up in June this year. Okay. And so is Mark Lyons. So we'll have to have them. I'll have to ask Sally what she needs from you guys. If you want to do another term, that'd be great. The other thing is as we were going through these bylaws, there's nowhere in the bylaws that we can find. I know it's been a tradition that usually you serve 2 terms and then that's it, you term out. I can't find that anywhere in the bylaws. So I think it's just something that they were doing. But if you wanted to run for 3 or 4 terms, there's no limit on that unless you want to put a limit in the bylaws. But I'm just letting you know that. So, but you're only on your first term and so is Mark. So you're we'd love to have you. You guys have done an excellent job. So please reapply. Okay, with that, Madam Chair, I'll get right into the bylaws. And we don't need to, when you first start on that first page and on the second page, as you go to the second page there, and you don't have these are just my suggestions as I was going through these. But there's some things in here that definitely need to be changed. But you can see that the rules contained in. So as far as the policy manual goes, and it was really confusing when I opened this up, the county didn't have a policy manual for a long time. And so they governed all the employees. So planning and zoning actually had its own policy manual. And so that is what we go by. All the employees in Sweetwater County that are under the commissioners, we abide by the policy manual that we have on Sweetwater County. So my suggestion would be because we have conflicting policies here, because because we have in the employee manual with Sweetwater County, we have some of that does relate to elected officials, yourselves as board members. But everything is in that Sweetwater County policy manual now. So there's no need for this policy manual in here. So my recommendation, we remove the policy manual section of that. And because in that policy manual, there's job descriptions, which also don't match the job descriptions as to what I was hired, Megan was hired, Stephanie was hired. We were hired under the employee manual. So
Really outdated. Yeah.
really outdated. So if you go to on that same page of page 2, so the travel requirements, the news media and public relations, all of that is covered under that. Now, ethical code of conduct, that's something we need to talk about. And then the administrative policies of the Sweetwater Planning Commission also we'll talk about and go through. So with that, Madam Chair, any questions? We'll just move on.
Yep.
And we don't need to review the resolution because that's going to, we'll make changes in that when I bring it before you. But we get to that first, which looks like it's page 2 or 3. I'll have you guys catch up, the table of contents. And then we'll get right into chapter 1. I'll wait till everybody's there.
Yep.
Okay, we all there? Okay. So
General provisions?
general provisions is where we're at. Megan, are you good?
Okay.
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 So section 1, the authority pertaining to the Planning and Zoning Commission is contained in the statutes of the state of Wyoming and the provisions of Wyoming statute. This was written so long ago, it said sections. It's no longer sections, it's titles, but it's 185202. And so that's what I would recommend. We can keep the Wyoming state statutes as amended in there. I probably should have left that in there. So note that we want to keep that in there, but 185202 is it. So before it said Wyoming statute. And so we need to correct that. We put the sections, well, maybe it is sections because that is the section symbol. So I think putting that in there, the 185202 clarifies where in the statute it's found. We good with that? This might be easier than we think it is. Then these bylaws shall regulate and govern the affairs of the Sweetwater County Planning and Zoning Commission, hereinafter referred to as Planning and Zoning Commission. I think that's pretty straightforward. Now, this was a really strange, where it was a section of referring to session law, which, every year has session laws written out as to what the actual details of what they do in session. So for some reason in chapter 108 sessions law, it was referring to that. But what it should say as far as the Administrative Procedures Act, so when we do all of our language amendments, we do everything in accordance with the Wyoming Administrative Procedures Act. So what I did is I crossed out chapter 108 session law and put in 16.3.101 to 16.3.115. And that is a section of statute that refers to the Administrative Procedures Act and not to a session law book that not everybody has. So you can actually go to the statute and find where that is. Then adoption of bylaws. These bylaws shall become effective upon their formal adoption by the Planning and Zoning Commission after a public hearing held in accordance with the Wyoming Administrative Procedures Act and upon expiration of the 20 days after filing with the Secretary of State. So that's just a requirement by statute. And that's all current. Amendments to the bylaws, changes or amendments to these shall conform to the procedures outlined in the Wyoming Administrative Procedures Act. A vote of majority of the Planning and Zoning Commission consisting of 3 members shall be required to change or amend these bylaws. So that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty common.
Under B there,
Yes.
would we still keep as amended, Wyoming state statutes as amended, take out 90?
Oh, up here under B. Yeah. Yeah.
We did above.
Yeah. I think we keep that in there. So keep this in here, but just take out that 1957.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 Anything else, Rob? Okay. Composition. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall be composed of at least 5 members, of at least 3 of whom shall reside in the unincorporated area of the county, to be appointed by the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners. So that's actually our current layout right now.
Yeah.
3 and 2, right? So that's by statute. We cannot change that. So that's, but we can have 5. We can have 5 unincorporated, but it's nice to have members that are in the cities too, because things can affect. But that's by statute, so nothing. Okay. So on the next page, terms of office. Terms of the members appointed to the first Planning and Zoning Commission shall be of such length and so arranged that the terms of at least one. it's kind of impossible to do where it says the current language, where it says of one member will expire each year. That's, I tried to do the numbers on that, but sometimes we have one, sometimes we have two, just the way things have laid out. So I just put of at least one. That way we're, gives us an option a little bit more that we could have two. Because I mean, we have two this year.
Have somebody resigns and
Yeah.
they're still
And then you'll
running.
have them fill an unexpired term, right? Yeah, so it's, I think we make some a little flexibility there. And therefore, each member shall be appointed for a term of 3 years, provided that any member of commission may be sooner removed for cause other than politics or religion. And after hearing public hearings by the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners. And we'll get in a little bit of that. It's later in the bylaws where it talks about when we've had a situation where someone just stopped showing up for like 5 months. And so then you can actually recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to remove that person. And we actually did, and the person was removed. So, but we give a lot of, it's not like, oh, you try to get a hold of them, what's going on? I mean, do you need to resign? Things like that. I mean, you like to give them those options out there. But how does everybody, I mean, I'm good with, you can be on here as long as you want. How's everybody feel about that? Because this is where you would put in there, you'd be limited to 2.
I don't think you should, this is a, basically, you're not getting paid for this. I don't think
No.
I think it's in the public's best interest. If somebody wants to be on here for more than 2 terms, I have no problems with that
I don't either.
personally.
Okay, I don't either. I just, Rob,
I don't have an issue with that.
Kelly?
You're volunteering your time. I said,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Vacancy of office, then we'll just leave it as is. Vacancy of office in the event of a vacancy in the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners shall fill the vacancy by appointment of the unexpired term. I think that we just talked about that. Okay, personnel. As far as officers, Planning and Zoning Commission shall annually elect 2 officers from amongst its own members during its annual commission meeting in July. The 2 officers of Planning and Zoning Commission shall consist of a chairman and vice chairman. Each officer shall serve 1-year term, 1-year terms. I agree with that. That's how the Board of County Commissioners operates. You guys have the option of changing it, keeping it the same. Any changes there?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, so as far as each officer shall serve 1-year terms, and then the chairman shall preside on all meetings, Planning and Zoning Commission, and shall have govern authority and responsibility in the administration of the rules and regulations, as shall not be inconsistent with powers reserved to the commission. Powers include his or her signature for documents. I would recommend we put plats in there because you sign plats. Recommendations, resolutions is weird. You guys don't sign resolutions, so I think that needs to come out. But I want to put in place of that authorizations, because you do a P and Z authorization when you do preliminary plats. That's a little bit different, and it is labeled as because you are actually approving the preliminary plat. It does not go to the board. It only goes to the Board of County Commissioners if they want to appeal it, or if they want to they have a variance or something, maybe that, but really you're the final say unless they appeal it. And we've had that happen one time. Angela, I think that we had that with Ranch View.
We
We did,
did.
because it was a 2-to-1 decision, and then they appealed that to the commissioners. And the commissioners overrode it. So, okay. So I included authorizations in there. Megan, is there anything else we're missing in here you can think of? I can't think of anything else either. Okay. Of the commission that call for special meetings in accordance with these bylaws and appointments for advisory committees subject to commission confirmation. So those committees, we'll get into a little bit of those. Those are like, if we ever get around to the subdivision regs, we actually have Rob and Casey we're working on that. My gosh.
Busy.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy. It has. It's on our list though, right, Megan? One of these days. So, we've got, tell them what you're doing as far as that goes. I mean, it's
Honestly, what I'm
not to
doing is,
sidetrack, but I'm just so they know.
right now, I'm just trying to look around, just other counties in the state to see what they have. Really like Johnson County's subdivision stuff. It's very well laid out. One of the problems that I see in the subdivision process is people are always asking, well, how long does this take? It's got a very good timeline, but also shows those variances that get added into there and can give someone else a good time frame and not taking it from me at my word of, oh yeah, this will take 6 to 8 months. It actually states all that information out there, really well laid out. Also is incorporating some of the zoning aspects of things, which we've talked about with lot size and dimensions and things like that, putting flexibility in there. So trying to just look at other counties to see what they have done. I think we're gonna do, at least what I would recommend doing is a complete sweep of starting over with our regulations. I think there's a good things in there, but they need to be severely revamped, in my opinion. And yeah, that takes time.
Yeah, so she's taking notes as we go. So it's, but that's what those committees are set up for, is so when we have something, we can sit down, and hammer a lot of the stuff out before we get to the Planning and Zoning Commission. You guys have had a lot of experience, designing, building, so that'll be great. Dealing with.
County and the city, so that actually, it's a plus, really.
Yeah, yeah. And just so you know, my goal is, and it is, in the next 2 years, I'll just say this, in the next year, get that revamped. I think we can do it, the subdivision, and then we're going to get rid of the growth management plan entirely. Because what we have is we got 3 separate documents. And for staff, I mean, I know where the stuff's at, but
I do not. I'm working on it.
right. So guess what happens? Somebody calls and says, what are the regulations on this? Staff pulls up a zoning resolution and doesn't look at the growth management plan and ends up giving not all the information. And so we got to get the subdivision stuff from the growth management in the subdivision and the zoning and the others. So we'll work on that.
That and just clarifying some of the growth management stuff contradicts stuff in either zoning or subdivision stuff. So making a decision and going with it on one side or another instead of having it be a game time decision of staff's interpretation.
Yeah. Okay, on to vice chairman. So the vice chairman shall exercise the functions of the chairman in the chairman's absence or incapacity. He shall also serve as chairman until the election of officers at the annual meeting in July. In the event the office of chairman becomes vacant due to his resignation, removal, incapacity, or other similar circumstances. Let's just keep note that we've had a situation where we've had the chair and the vice chair not be able to come. So I think there's somewhere in here where it says you can make an appointment of that. So I want to make sure that that's in there. Just thought about that. Okay, next page. This is interesting. So the Sweetwater County clerk or his or her designated representative shall serve as secretary to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And the Sweetwater County clerk shall sign all official documents of the commission. They do. She does. Ms. Cindy Lane does. The minutes of the commission shall be kept by the Sweetwater County clerk or his or her designated representative. So I haven't had a chance to talk to Cindy about this. So your secretary is Stephanie, and I'm sure this was written when there was a time we didn't have a staff member dedicated to that. So we may need to tweak that a little bit, or she just designates Stephanie to be the person, but I don't know how that works. But I got to work with, just make a note that we'll might have to make some adjustments there. Okay, staff. So current language is the Planning and Zoning Commission may appoint employees and may contract for professional services to carry out its function and duties. So there's issues with that. So under the when the bylaws were established, planning and zoning had a budget and they ran the budget, and then it was a lot different back in the day when these were created. So right now, the land use, we request a budget every year in front of the Board of County Commissioners, and then they approve, deny, whatever. But they are the governing body that we go to get a budget approved. Now, under the clerk's office, I'm going to say probably 10 years ago, there was a line item for Planning and Zoning Commission, and it had money in there for training, and it was $10,000. And I just remember going to the clerk one day and said, if I had a P and Z member that wanted to go to some training, oh, we just zeroed that out when the cuts happened. So thanks for that. So didn't know that. So but anyway, the issue is I like more the language of coordinate with land use, because I work for the Board of County Commissioners. You're an advisory board. It's a little awkward if we appoint staff members. Do you see where I'm saying? And then the other issue is that contract for professional services. That's what, now, if there's an issue that you guys want to bring up with me and say, hey, I think, maybe like we did with the sound, we worked with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Then we contracted, the land use office did, and then actually the commissioners actually ultimately signed the contract with the professional services. It was on the wind farm, and we hired a sound expert on that. So be great if we could have you contract for professional service, but there's no money to contract for you to do the contracting services with. That's the issue.
I don't think the planning and zoning board should be hiring contract,
Right.
professional services. I don't get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thought you'd find that interesting, guys. So my goal would be to remove that, coordinate with us, with the land use staff for its work. So, and I think I like that language better than the point. Any feelings on that? Are we all good with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Advisory committees, planning and zoning may establish such advisory committees to the commission as are necessary, and the chairman of the commission shall appoint the membership of these advisory committees subject to the confirmation by the commission. So like I previously stated, that's when I bring up and say, we obviously can't have 3 because that's a quorum, but advisory committees, and you could have 1 if you wanted, but I think I'm good with that language. Okay. All right. This is actually good that you can see this as a training session, because, the last time we've gone over bylaws. Open meetings. All meetings to the Planning and Zoning Commission are public meetings, open to the public at all times, except as otherwise provided. A members of the public shall, which would be an executive session. Okay. A member of the public shall not be required as a condition of attendance at any meeting to register his name, to supply information, to complete a questionnaire, or fulfill any other condition precedent to his attendance, except that a person seeking recognition may be required to give his name and affiliation. And that's what we're doing. So what we're basically saying is, if you come to a meeting, you don't have to sign anything. We don't make anybody sign anything. Just if they want to, so that like when we have an open house and they want to be contacted, like we did with Love's Truck Stop, we can do that. But that's what we're doing right now. But we do, for the minute's sake, ask them to identify themselves for the record. Any questions or concerns about that? None. Okay. Annual meetings. The annual meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission shall be the first regular meeting in the month of July of each year. This meeting shall include the election of officers for the following year and the regular business of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's what we should have done last year, right? And then we had to do elections, in October, November. Okay. Whoops. Okay. We'll try not to. Now, this one was interesting. So the Planning and Zoning Commission shall regularly meet each month on the 3rd Wednesday.
We're a little off. We're a little off.
We don't want to do that because the third Tuesday is when the Board of County Commissioners meet, right? So that we can make that meeting. Okay. The second Wednesday. I did not know that was in there. Since I've been here 18 years, we've never met on the third Wednesday. Okay. A regular meeting may be canceled or rescheduled by the Planning and Zoning Commission at a prior meeting. I guess we can do that because if we don't have any hearings scheduled, we'll know that. Right? Okay. Because we do that. Okay. I guess I'm okay with that. I was thinking about that if,
And we have changed meetings in the past for no hearings or to
Yeah.
do something else.
yes,
We've
yeah.
done that.
yeah. And special, and we'll get to, and the special meeting is next, which is, we could actually held this whenever. Yeah, right. It's a workshop, but yeah. Are we good with that? Okay. Special meetings may be called by the chairman by giving notice thereof to the secretary. Secretary on behalf of the chairman shall notify, so you, Madam Chair, you can actually, if you want to call a special meeting, you can. If there's something that you wanted to talk about or schedule. The secretary on behalf of the chairman shall notify each member in writing of the time and place of the special meeting at least one day prior to the meeting, and to each newspaper, general circulation, radio, television station requesting such notice. So one day is great. The problem is the paper runs once a week. So, but the good thing about it is at least you know that you can, like a week prior, you could schedule a special meeting if you wanted to.
How long are we gonna keep using the paper instead of like Sweetwater Now or Wild 4 News? I mean,
Till the
Yeah.
state gets on the ball.
The legislature has to change that. That's the problem. So in Wyoming statute in the Title 18, it says right in there, general circulation. And so they tried to change it, not this last year. I don't know if they did. There were so many bills, but they did. I know they tried the year prior. And they did try to change that, and it was getting good momentum, but there was some controversial issues with it. So I think pressure our legislatures next year to work on that. Well, it's a budget year, but we can at least try. It'd be great. I completely agree with you. Just for even the Board of County Commissioners' sake too. So one day prior to the meeting, so the general circulation and the notice shall specify the business to be transacted, which is required, and no other business shall be considered a special meeting. So that's just, yeah, that's to be in accordance with statute. So recessed meetings, and we've done this before too. The Planning and Zoning Commission may recess any regular special or recessed regular or special meeting to a place and time specified in an order of recess. Copy of the order of recess shall be, I didn't know this, but I know now, shall be conspicuously posted on or near the door of the place where the meeting or recessed meeting was held. Only matters appearing on the agenda may be acted upon in a meeting recessed to another location. Angela, I don't know if you were on the board when we did that, but we had some corrals that we were dealing with. It was a special use permit. We actually went to the site up there on the Belt Loop. Oh, I know where.
We went out to Granger.
Yes,
Yeah.
cell
Yeah.
tower.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
We did. So what that means is if there's something you're like, I need to see the site and we want to recess it to the site, we can do that. What this is saying, you put it on the door probably in case somebody wants to show up to the meeting and like, where are they? And you just say, we're recessed for right now. So. Okay. Executive sessions. I think the Planning and Zoning Commission may hold executive sessions not open to the public only in accordance with, I need to quote the statute that's in. John gave it to me. I'll put that in there because again, we're referring to session laws. That needs to be modified. So I'm just going to cross that out just as, and we'll put the appropriate citation in there. Oh man, what did I just do? There we go. Okay, 3 members of the Planning and Zoning Commission shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. No action shall be taken in the absence of a quorum, except to adjourn the meeting to a subsequent date. That's, so if we show up and there's only 2 members, we have to adjourn the meeting. Okay. Voting. Each member of the Planning and Zoning Commission shall be entitled to 1 vote. Voting shall be by the voice. All votes shall be cast in person by members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The affirmative vote of at least 3 members shall be necessary for adoption of any resolution or other voting matter. Okay, notice that does say in person. How are we feeling about that?
Oh, like we have somebody on Zoom now or something.
We need to put some language in there to cover when
Yeah,
we ran a year and a half, 2 years
yeah.
just on Zoom, and that would be.
What is the commissioners, have they decided any policy on the in-person thing or anything? Yeah. Okay, okay.
Right now, I believe we still.
Yeah,
Zoom meetings, I don't know if that's straight from them.
okay.
I mean, everybody had.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's necessary for my purposes. You want folks.
In person.
Well, we've had some weather stuff too, though, so I
Yeah.
guess I think of weather that if somebody can hop on Zoom, you know, for me to get here is not a big
Okay.
deal, but the rest of you guys are all coming from Rock Springs.
I don't know, I'm kind of with Kelly on that. I think it should be in person, and otherwise, unless a pandemic, but I don't know, I just think if the people are gonna show up for the meeting, I think they should, you know, it's more personal if you're in person. You might have reservations if you're on Zoom a little bit more, I like the in-person thing personally.
Okay,
I do personally.
And I just, for the years we did it on Zoom, I'll tell you, it's much better to sit and look. at
Oh,
somebody
absolutely.
Talking. there
yeah,
Than it ever was sitting and watching
Yeah.
somebody talk on Zoom, and get more from somebody standing in front of you than you do through the computer screen, so
okay.
I'm all for it in person, you know.
I understand that there'll be, you know, hopefully, you know, knock on wood, we never have a pandemic or we have to do that again. You might put some wordage in there in case of, you know,
Right,
something to that effect, but personally, I like in person.
I don't
like
think
the Zoom.
we have the issue, but I'm also thinking if we look to 5 years from now, a group, and you got one guy who just wants to sit his computer in his house all the time, not come to here, just wants to be part of it, but he's a little removed from it because he's not here, but he can zoom in. We don't want that.
Do you put, you know, under,
There
I
needs
don't know
to be
what
I mean,
circumstances, certain
Zoom has been
circumstances, I
helpful.
don't know. Oh, absolutely.
And,
yeah,
but it cannot be a go-to. I
Oh,
mean,
no.
it needs to be there as a.
maybe something in, we can work on maybe some languages, which,
Just
like a pandemic or something.
Circumstances or something.
Yeah, you can draft up some language.
With
Yeah,
me sitting on that side and on this side, both throughout the years.
yeah.
I like somebody I can talk to.
Yep, I agree.
So I.
I know what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, something like that,
So
yeah,
I'll make a note of that.
yeah.
We did have one meeting where I got stuck with the roads closed
Yeah.
and I was on the phone, you know, Zoom or.
Yeah,
wasn't even Zoomed
exactly.
in, I was just
On the phone with, yeah.
Phone call doing it. I mean, it was in.
Well, I thought road had closed on you or something too. Yeah,
They couldn't get,
that's what it was. Yeah.
couldn't get here from there.
Okay. We'll work on some language for that. Okay. Okay.
Maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
Somebody can't be there, but they probably still have valid input, so maybe they could still offer input and stuff, but can't necessarily vote. Idea. Cause, you know, maybe Angela's at some conference or something, can't be available, but she still has input on it, maybe she can still be allowed to give her input online, and maybe not necessarily vote. just a thought.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I think you could do that regardless. Okay. But let me think, we'll process it and see what we come up with. Or they can't vote. What you're saying is they can't vote.
It's a hard one.
Got it. Okay. Abstention. Oh, hold on just a second. We're not. The affirmative vote of at least 3 members shall be necessary for adoption of any resolution. That needs to say recommendation or other voting matter. I'm just gonna scratch that. How are we feeling about that? What that is, I think what they're trying to do there, then I'm just speculating here. Because at a Board of County Commissioner, you have 5 members. But you can have 3 show up, quorum, and have a 2-1 and it passes.
Oh, that's
Um,
true.
You know what I mean? So I don't know where the 3 came from. I don't know if it's because of the statute on 3 unincorporated members. You know what I mean? I don't
Oh,
know.
I
I
didn't even
don't,
think about that.
but I don't know. I'm speculating here. I do not know.
Hey, ask John, can we go to a 2-1 or?
Okay.
You know,
I'll find that out. Okay. Because we had situations where it is,
Yeah,
and then you still have a quorum. So let me look into that, see if we can make changes to that.
it goes back and it might be because for a lot of years, there was only 3 members on this board.
Uh-huh.
You know, it could have been in that transition of going from 3 to 5, language didn't move or,
It's
they
hard to
added
say.
it, so. Somebody was controlling that only 2 people couldn't come together and.
Well, maybe
change
that's why
stuff.
they have 3, because you can have 2 of the board members and, me and Rob could be talking, leave you 3 out of it.
Mhm.
And we decide, oh, Angela and Mark are gonna be sick, Kelly's gonna be here. We've been talking, not as a, board member, we've been talking, we vote, we know what and we know that he's totally against it. And Angela would have been against it and Mark would have been against it, so, 2 people talk, and maybe that's why if you get 3 people, it's a quorum. I don't know, there's
Don't know.
a lot of.
I don't
things
know. I
to
just
think
haven't
about.
seen that
Other-
before, you know.
Even think about it.
speculation on that. I don't know.
There's probably history.
There's something, yeah, it's something I'm not aware of, but I can look into that and we can provide the options to you and how you want to do that. But right, the commissioners, if it's 3, it's 2-1, it passes.
What about commissioners? What do they do?
That's what he's saying. If there's 2-1, they.
Depends on what it is. Okay, that's true. And maybe it's because it's a recommendation resolution. I don't know. So I need to check into that. Maybe it's a majority thing. So I will check on that. Okay. So before we change that, we want to make sure we have and I'll check with John too on that. Abstention. Any member of the Planning and Zoning Commission may abstain from voting on any matter of issue when that member has a personal or financial interest in the matter or issue. The member shall disclose his interest and be disqualified from upon the matter, and the secretary shall so record in the minutes that no vote was cast by such member. I think there's something further in here. If there is only a certain amount of members in order to pass the resolution, so we'll have a recommendation, so.
So if the board member has to abstain, does he, some of them have to leave the room?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so do you have to put that in there then too?
it might be further in here, so
Okay.
I'll make a note of that. But let me check. I thought there was a conflict of interest policy in here, so we'll see when we get down there. I'll make a note, though. Absenteeism, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall notify and provide a recommendation to the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners when any member misses 3 consecutive regularly scheduled meetings. Are we good with that? Okay. And then all meetings of the Planning and Zoning Commission shall be conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order revised by General Henry M. Robert. What we might want to do, well, it does say as amended by these bylaws, so we might want a more current copy of that. So, we'll fix that language. Let me make a note of that. I'll at least highlight that.
Robert's rules for idiots on the side.
There is a Robert's Rules for Dummies. Okay. This is where our agenda comes from. Proceedings at any regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the following shall be regular order of business, roll call, consideration of previous minutes, communications, public hearings, old business and new business. So that's bam. Any concerns with that or? Okay,
We usually have staff report in there, right?
That's at the end, isn't it?
We usually approve
Approve.
the staff report at the beginning.
yeah, that's true.
Most staff recommendations.
You're right. Approval of staff report. Okay. Note, that's an easy fix. Individuals or groups may be recognized by the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission with agreement of the commission members for discussion of new business. So that's if somebody does come in here and if they want to talk, you can give them that opportunity to talk, a group. Okay. Or individual too. Okay. Okay, adjournment. This is an interesting section here. Appearances before the commission, individuals or groups that wish to appear before the Planning and Zoning Commission shall make the request in writing to the secretary 1 week prior to the meeting. The written request shall be made no later than the first Wednesday of each month to be placed on the agenda of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. During discussion of topics on the agenda, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission will recognize all visitors who care to make comments. So that's pretty much what's happening now. They usually get a hold of us way before then. If they want to be on new business, like we had Project Bison that presented before you, they get a hold of us. And then we put them on the agenda. So
Yes.
Tuesday. Noon. Put it on in the Thursday paper. Wednesday.
Did you get it in the paper? Okay.
So change it maybe instead of 1 week, maybe 2 weeks prior to meeting,
probably a better idea.
because 1 week doesn't give you the commissioners or anybody really a whole lot of time, especially if you're busy to look at what they're
I agree.
gonna be there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You got that? Go ahead.
Where this, I think, falls on our agenda at least is usually at the end. As long as we can get the staff report out the Friday before we have a meeting, which is usually less than a week. I don't see that.
We
one
don't
being
advertise our
coming
agenda.
into
We advertise that it's a little
a
bit different.
Problem.
Yeah, we're not required to. But I do like the 2 weeks. I don't like somebody
Yeah.
just dropping in and,
Isn't it?
No,
yeah, I do like that idea. So, okay. Right, that's what you're saying. Megan?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea just for other reasons.
Right, yeah, amen. Okay, so during discussion of topics on the agenda, the chairman of the planning and zoning will recognize all visitors who care to make comments. Okay. Public records, all rules and other written statements of policy, the interpretations formulated, adopted, or used by the Planning and Zoning Commission in the discharge of its functions shall be available for public inspection. So that means the minutes and then recommendations that you make. Same with the video. Each formal action of the Planning and Zoning Commission shall be entered in full upon the minute book.
what's the minutes that?
I think we need to, I'm gonna highlight that. Just so you know, so the they're put on the server. The minutes. I'm just gonna highlight that. I think that's interesting. In the form of a motion or resolution in accordance with bylaws.
Now, as I look through all of this in this little section.
Yeah.
With the public comments and stuff, is there somewhere our chair needs to, we have a highly contentious system or hearings. Our chair needs to have the ability to say, okay, we're gonna have 3-minute, 5-minute
Yep,
comment.
totally agree.
periods.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
if it's not written, if it is just allow people to comment.
I think it's in the next procedures for public
Section.
hearings. Just
Okay.
hold that thought. Hold that thought. Okay. All right. So let's go into that. So, because I think there's something in there with the chair having that ability.
Talk about that.
Yeah, yep. The public hearing, purpose of public hearing. The public hearing is held for the purpose of obtaining information and comments. Planning and Zoning Commission shall consider the information and comments presented during the public hearing prior to the submission of recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners, which is what you do. Notice of public hearings, notice of the time and place of hearing shall be given by one publication in a newspaper of general circulation in Sweetwater County at least 30 days before the date of such hearing. That's in statute. You can't change that. Right of public hearing. Any person shall have the right to petition the Planning and Zoning Commission for the amendment of any zoning plan adopted under the provisions. And then we'll get that. I'm going to highlight that. We'll get that the appropriate title and statute number on there. That is in statute. And we have a process for that. So if somebody wants to amend your zoning resolution, they can do that. They don't have to go through staff. They can actually say, I want to be on the agenda and I want to make these changes. So that's out of statute. That's allowed. Initiated public hearings by Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission may initiate public hearings relative to functions permitted under, and we'll get the appropriate sections for that also. And other functions duly delegated by to the Planning and Zoning Commission by the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners. And what that means is like the preliminary plats. Commissioners have delegated that authority to you to be able to do authorizations for those by the subdivision regulations. Okay. Appearance at public hearings. Any interested individual or group will be provided an opportunity to participate in the public hearing. Appearance will be granted in the following order. And this is where, Madam Chair, when you do the speak for, in favor, against, and general comment, right? So those individual or groups who wish to speak for the proposal set for public hearings. So for the proposal, right? Those individuals who wish to speak against the proposal set for public hearing. And then those who wish to only to comment and not speak for or against. And that's exactly what you're doing.
That we do, yeah.
That's exactly how we're doing them. Written comments, any individual or group will be provided an opportunity to submit written comments to be addressed to the Planning and Zoning Commission within 30 days. Public notice for the public hearing. Written comments shall be automatically be incorporated into the public hearing record.
Is that like minutes? Like,
I'm just going to read through that again. Oh, so within the 30-day notice. So, okay. Right. So we put the notice out there and they can submit within 30 days. Megan, go ahead.
oh, okay.
Go ahead.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a second too.
I think my only question here is, does it have to be read into the record like we've talked about, or just simply having it in the staff? Like in the case of last month where we thought we were going to have the Met Tower and there was 30 some odd comments that were quite interesting to read through. Do all those need to be, yes, read into the record, or can they be used within the packet? I know that's been a discussion that we've had in the past.
Yeah. It doesn't say that in there. I think what it's saying is it becomes a part of the record regardless of whenever they could walk in the door and hand you a written comment. I do it we can put it in there. Just remember, whatever we put in there, we're bound to. You're bound to. And so it just depends. What is your feeling on that? Because I'll just give you my professional opinion about it, is when we do the staff report and we present the comments to you, I don't think we should be reading them in. I think you have the opportunity to read them. I think what happens sometimes is in between the time of the cutoff for written comments in the staff report, because I try to get it out to you on Friday, usually in the morning or afternoon. And then we might have some lingering in comments, and then we'll just bring those before you or email them to you before, if there's time for that. And that way you have a time to review them. So we're not, what is your preference? I mean, does that drive you crazy when we're reading them into the record? Any feedback on that?
I think the written comments, the people that, especially the last one that I wasn't here for, but I did read the comments. I think that if those people, I mean, granted, I appreciate that they write the comments, they're concerned about what's being put up. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's great. But what I think is, I don't think you should read all those comments, because some of them aren't worth reading. And if seriously, I don't want, kids to hear some of the comments that they read. But if somebody is that adamant that they wrote it down, they can always appear in public and, read their comments. So I, for one, don't think you should have to read them all. No.
Okay.
I agree.
Need to be part of the.
Of the
Of the
packet.
record. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think a good policy would be maybe and if they want to bring those comments, they can bring them. Like, that's, I think, what you're saying. If you want to, okay, you've missed the deadline, and we do post that on the comment form. This is not something that we do not post. So when the adjacent property owner does receive I think it says it on the notification too, on the sign too.
It says it on both, that comments are due 5 PM the Friday before. So the Friday that you guys are getting the staff report, comments are due by 5 PM that day. I know there's been only a handful of times, at least since I've been here, that we've gotten comments outside of it.
It's not very often.
It doesn't happen.
It's not very often, no.
We usually get them right away, or we get them all in the last 2 or 3 days of the 30-day period.
And if there's something that catches your eye as a board member, maybe you'll want to read that into public record, that certain comment.
Yeah,
Could you do,
Yeah.
could you do that?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's somebody actually makes a really good argument about, for or against, and this is legit, maybe if you don't read it, Megan doesn't read it, one of us decides we should read it to put it out there. Maybe not a bad idea.
but definitely, like, if it's being submitted, part of the staff report, there's no need for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I agree.
No, and if they feel that strongly, they'll be here.
Yeah.
You think? Okay. Okay. Do you have anything else, Megan? No? Okay. Conduct of public hearings. For public hearings shall conform to the following procedures. The chairman shall call the public hearing to order, and the proposal set for the public hearing shall be read. That's where we read the staff report. The chairman may recognize members of the Planning and Zoning Commission staff to provide initial comments on the proposal, which is what we're doing, right? Because staff presents, then the chairman shall then recognize those present at the public hearing. The individual or group recognized by the chairman shall be asked to identify himself or the group and his or their affiliation regarding the proposal prior to making any comments, which is what we're doing. So appearance of those regularly recognized by the chairman shall follow the procedure outlined in these bylaws. Okay. So this is where we need to talk coming up here. Appearance of those recognized by the chairman shall follow the procedure outlined in these bylaws. Only one individual at a time and recognized by the chairman shall be permitted to speak. That's really with Robert's Rules of Order, right? They should be going through the chair. Each person,
Ooh, 10
this is
minutes.
long, just so you know.
That's a lot.
Shall be limited to 10 minutes for comments unless an extension approved by the planning commission is granted. Any extension of time shall be granted equally to all groups or individuals who wish to comment. I saw that and I thought that 10 minutes is a long time. Yeah. So but you can always permit an extension. So it's better to probably go shorter and then give an extension. I think what would be good here too, and we can add language or a time period set by the chair and the planning, confirmed by the, you know what I mean? Because maybe,
If we have an actual physical time here, it can be a by
okay, I like that. I like that.
thing. So we have Loves and 100 people out here.
Not everybody.
We can go,
do 10
okay, if they ask 3 minutes. You know, and if somebody needs more, I mean, we're gonna let them,
Okay.
you know.
Can you put a time limit on each individual, issue that comes up, like, let's say Loves, okay, Loves is on the agenda, you have somebody else on the agenda, can you, okay, Loves gets so many minutes, I don't know.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah. Yeah, because you're opening each public hearing back and forth.
There's 100 people that's gonna be voicing their, give Loves, sentiment, I mean, they get a total block of time and then the comment period total block. That way you just don't limit to one person, 10 minutes, you go, okay, this whole group has this amount of time.
Yeah, but your public is still, when they come in to speak, they're recognized individuals, not
As a whole, so each
whole.
one would get 2
Each
minutes or 3 minutes each
individual is
person.
an Individual,
Has to be the same
versus
for that hearing.
a group of people that are pro, no, each individual is an individual.
Yeah,
You know, so
Okay.
when we limit it, we need to limit to the individual time.
not to the
not
subject.
to the subject.
Okay.
At least in I mean, we can plan for the subject. We can plan, okay, we're gonna give 2 hours to this, but if it holds to that 2 hours, that's our
Well,
plan.
if you have 100 people that show up for,
Then
and one ish-
people.
and you give each person 2 minutes,
Yeah,
you
we're-
know,
or
you're-
3 minutes, and as I watch a lot of hearings, just for interest.
because you're bored.
You know, maybe I have no life or something, but, I've seen a very common time is 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a very common time and city
Okay.
hearings and, you know,
'Cause I think every individual should be heard that wants to
yeah,
come up. and talk.
every individual should be heard, but there's a limit, you know, you got 5 minutes and
Yes.
3 minutes and 5 minutes, are two common time limits, and most of them have a little clock. You have your green time, you know. It's just like at the national, in the House, that when they're having their meetings, everybody's got a clock, you know, even the people on the boards have a clock. I have 3 minutes of my speak or something. You
Yeah.
know, that's a lot of.
That sounds good to me.
It's
Will just be like,
it's
stop.
to control, yeah, you know, we need gavel control class.
Yeah.
You know.
The other thing too that you can limit, I've seen this occur, especially when there's a lot of comments, is when it's the same comment over and over again. And you can actually, whether it's by bylaw or however you want it written, limit their time, say, okay, we've heard, do you have a different comment that has been expressed? Otherwise, we're going to just take that into consideration. So that's an option too. As a chair, you can say, you know what, we're hearing the same comment and it has to be related to, and you can correct somebody, it has to be related to the issue at hand, not getting off on a tangent. You can say, okay, it's got to be related to the actual public hearing that we're hearing. So you can actually do that too. So when I've seen that at city council happen where they're, hey, we're hearing the same comment over and over and over again. Does anybody else have any different comment? No, we don't. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And my brain
Noted.
says we need to have a little bit of written rule, but we need to have the chair have the power to, okay, let's streamline this into a
yeah,
much more effective route.
Well, yeah, to keep your meeting.
right. But we will, if you're good with it, we'll make that more flexible time, because that's what we're doing. I think when we had Love Trucks up, I think that you and I talked and thought, okay, what would be a good time frame?
Yeah,
So,
You definitely have to change the 10 minutes because somebody wants to come in here and talk 10 minutes. I mean,
that's too much.
Yeah, that's
five people,
yeah.
that's 50 minutes,
Yeah.
right? So, okay,
That's too
Yep.
much.
okay.
First person to
You do. Yeah, you can't change midstream. Well, now you only get 1 minute. I don't like what you're saying. Yeah, you don't want to do
I'm sorry, dude.
that. Yeah,
I think it'd be good also to add in, it can change with a hearing as well.
yeah,
Per
Just
hearing
because you're
or-
going
Oh.
to have some of those to where, okay, yeah, you may have your 100 people come to one, but you've got 2 or 3 to another, and it's more possibly a more intricate
Yeah.
detail and things at hand. But another question that I've been asked has been by the applicant is there a time limit in which they have to present their side of the information? Is that something we want to take into consideration or no? Just a thought.
Let's say that again. So the time,
Does the applicant have a certain time period? And so we asked the applicant if they want to come up, you know, to add anything, do they
I don't
have a
think you
certain
can
time
put time,
period?
because
I don't
there
think
could be-
that's,
There could be some issues that we as laymen, you're talking like an electrical issue or something that they're specific on their industry that we know nothing about. It might take somebody longer to describe that than somebody that says, I want to get an easement on a golf course or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you can limit to the people proposing. I really don't.
because the goal is for them to get the most information
To us?
to make the best decision. And so when you limit somebody, especially, I mean, as far as the applicant goes, that's dangerous because you could, the best decision you're gonna make is based on all the information you get from them and from the staff. And then weigh that and see,
I had one
Make
other
this-
question.
yeah.
So just to reference a little bit back. So if you had, let's say 75 people in this group and you say, okay, 3 people brought up the same, okay, we don't agree with this, and they're all, can you ask the crowd, say, okay, the people who don't agree with this, so we can limit our time, can you please raise your hand? So you can get an idea of how many people are in the room that are
Mhm.
opposed to it?
Yeah.
I mean, for Angela, she could actually do this?
yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
question.
okay, we'll work on some language on that. That does need to be revised for sure. I'll just highlight the whole paragraph. And I like this next section. At the conclusion of an individual's comments, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission may permit appropriate questions to be addressed to the individual who has concluded his or her comments. So that way you can ask that person questions. Yeah. I think that's appropriate.
That's pretty much how we
Yep, it is. It is. Standards of a public hearing will be maintained. All participants and observers will conduct themselves in a proper manner. At the conclusion of the comments from all individuals or groups recognized by the chairman may request comments and opinions from members of the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff. Okay. And then formal action may then be taken by the Planning and Zoning Commission in accordance with I put the most recent edition, but I can work with John on that, John DeLeon of the Roberts Rules of Order. Okay. So this next section's easy. It's a policy manual. Okay. So I'm gonna go through. You're gonna have to skip quite a few pages here. Okay, so this next section, let me look for. There's no page numbers on there, is there?
This just says like chapter, and then the policy man is 7 on the bottom.
So look for section 11, a code of ethics and planning.
Code of ethics.
It'll say appendix A on it
I
too.
got page numbers on mine.
15.
Oh, I'm close.
Did you find it, Rob?
There we go.
It's kind of at the bottom there, right? So the American Society of Planning Officials has established a code of ethics in planning. They're no longer an active organization, but I'm sure they established these for planning officials. So just so you know, so the American Planning Association, who I'm a member of, and then I also have the credentials of AICP, and which I'm held to certain ethical standards that I have to abide by, and that you do not have to abide by. But bringing those in would not I'm held to those. And there's no need for you to be held to those. It's a high, but this American Society of Planning Officials, and we've adopted it, is all of the ethical things that you should be held by. As far as rules of ethical conduct and planning, conflict of interest. It's good to have something in there to be held by, for sure. Let's just go through those. Let me see how long this is. I don't think it's that long. 3 pages. I just want to go through real quick. Just hold that thought there. Let's skip over that for right now, Madam Chair, and move forward to rules governing conflicts of interest.
Is that past that, Eric?
Yeah, it's past that. It's past, you're going to go past a organizational chart.
Everybody find it?
Yep.
All right.
We're all good? Okay. Which I think is interesting that it's chapter 1, but and we will renumber everything so it all makes sense. And it's like, it almost looks like what they did is, oh, we adopted this, then we adopted this,
Yeah.
and then we adopted this, and then we adopted this. Now it's chapter 1. So, okay, so authority, these new rules are adopted as authorized by Wyoming Statute 185202A and promulgated as authorized by the Wyoming Administrative Procedures Act. This is actually correct, contained in sections 13-101 and sections 16-3-115, Wyoming Statute 1977 as amended, and our new rules with respect to the conduct of members of the Sweetwater County Planning and Zoning Commission regarding conflict of interest and bias affecting matters before the commission only. All rules previously promulgated shall otherwise remain in full effect. Okay, reason for adoption. The new rules are adopted to secure fairness to all persons bringing matters before the Planning and Zoning Commission in relation to any member of the commission affected by personal bias or conflict of interest, which is what I think that ASPO standards were. So I think we need to hold off on those. Let me review those, because if this covers it, then let's just keep what's covered in here, unless there's any concerns about this. I don't know where these came from. This is just what's been adopted. So definitions. The following definition shall prevail in these rules. Commission, the Sweetwater County Planning and Zoning Commission, County of Sweetwater, State of Wyoming. Okay. Member, any person lawfully appointed to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, County of Sweetwater, State of Wyoming, including the chairman thereof. Personal or private interest. A commission member shall be deemed to have a personal or private interest in a matter before the commission if the member or the member's spouse or minor child will receive or incur a direct financial gain or loss relating to a matter before the commission, when the disposition of the matter brought before the commission will have a bearing on such gain or loss.
You should take out minor child though.
Okay, I agree.
Like, yeah, how did they?
So if he's 18, well, I'm gonna get him some stuff.
Under section 2, we should take off new rules and just say these rules.
Where's that at, Rob?
Section 2. These new rules.
Said you take out new.
Yeah, agreed. Anything else you guys see? Okay. Okay. Applicability, these rules apply only to members of the commission while engaged in the performance of their duties as members of the commission. Okay. Participation of biased interested member. Except as provided in these rules, no member of the commission shall participate in the discussion of or vote upon any matter brought before the commission in which the commission member has personal or private interest or any matter in which the commission member has a personal bias or prejudice against a party seeking action by the commission. Any questions on that? No. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Rob. Yeah.
So like, where it says a personal bias, we could have like a commissioner here that is personally biased to windmills. So wouldn't that mean they could not be part of that?
They could, but they, hold on, I'm just going to read the next paragraph down because I want to see what that's saying before I answer your question. Member shall disqualify himself or herself from the consideration of any matter concerning which he or she has a personal private interest or personal. Okay, so it's saying you shall. Okay, so that's why I wanted to read that next section. The way that's reading, yes. I mean, so if you had a personal bias against windmills, it bias you on the decision that you're making. Yeah. It's it's a hard thing. I'm not saying it's not.
Cause I'm looking at that going, you know, it's, hopefully we all have different opinions of how
Sure.
everything works. And that's why we, from different points of view, come to, okay, this is a good idea, or, you know, we need to steer around a different direction on something. But I mean, there's a personal bias, somebody who's against, I mean, windmills, but, you know, there's, just because they're against it, you got 4 other people that are.
Yeah,
can
for
look-
instance,
or
I'm gonna
somebody
use,
can have a bias against something and look at it and go, but it's still there.
And I.
I know what
agree.
you're
Have to
do
go
it,
back
you know,
to,
that-
you know, we're here, does it fit within our policies, procedures? Is it gonna benefit the county?
Yeah. and
Is
it-
it something that, you know, you vote for against whatever, not is your own interest, but is it something that fits in the growth management plan, the strat plan? You know, you need to back up and what, you know,
well, I guess what I'm thinking of, I'll use an example we just had here a couple months ago. That I went into one of these meetings after I read all the reports, I went in there with, I was leaning towards voting no. And I could had a bias. I listened to all the arguments. I voted yes. So I don't think if you have a personal bias on something, doesn't mean you can't change your mind. So if you have a personal bias, if you're financially going to gain, of course, that's a no brainer. But if you have how do you judge somebody having a personal bias on if they're against windmills or a certain other project? You can't, I mean, because you can be swayed an opposite way.
Let me do this. I'm going to highlight this paragraph and then see what the American Planning Association has as far as anything on, planning and look at some other bylaws. I understand what you're saying
You know,
completely. Yeah,
these might be from 20 years ago.
right. Yeah.
Things have changed anyway.
Yeah. So I completely understand what you're saying. Completely do. Yeah. Yeah. I'm processing it, what you guys are saying. So I'll look, and then what we'll do in there is look at some language as far as what the American Planning Association, that's a trusted source can use. Where we could have a whole
oh, yeah. Whole days.
workshop on
That-
bias.
Yes, you could.
But definitely when you get into the,
If there's not a person in the world that doesn't have a little bias to one thing or another, that's
line.
what makes us all different. All be, you know, I'd rather have asphalt roads than cement roads.
yeah.
You know.
And then just so you know, on that next paragraph, we're going to have to modify that too, obviously. Okay, so we'll look at that. Okay. Okay. Disqualification by the commission. A member may be disqualified from participation concerning a specific matter by action of the commission in circumstances where a member believes that another member should have disqualified himself or herself and failed to do so. Disqualification by the commission shall be upon majority vote of the commission following a motion duly made and second. All members present shall vote upon the matter of disqualification, including the member sought to be disqualified and lacking a majority to the contrary. The member in question shall be permitted to participate in discussion of and vote upon the matter concerning the unusual matter. Usual matters, excuse me. What's your thoughts on that?
So if
Rob,
you, so-
rules have a guideline for handling this. I mean, we're starting to.
I don't know.
I don't know that that would fall under Robert's rules.
Commissioner Richards, do you know of any in Robert's rules on conflict of interest? I don't know if that's in Robert's rules. Yeah.
Oh, Eric, are you saying that, so if one of the board members up here thought another board member had a conflict of interest, he or she could bring it up in the meeting?
Mhm.
And would they have to tell them why they think they have a conflict of
I
interest?
would think so, yeah. Yeah, because you're gonna have to have a motion in a second. So you have to have at least two people agree that there is some sort
Could
of.
this be brought up before it starts? Because you don't want, I don't know if you
Hopefully
want
it
this
is.
out in public.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Because then it could be one word against another, he said, she said type of, it could end
Yeah.
up being that way. You don't want to be going through okay, this is coming up for
Yep.
agenda now, and now the
Yep.
board member says, I'm going to disqualify her, or, I'm just using
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
Angela, as an example. So, she has a bias towards this and you're bringing this up. Where if you brought it up before the meeting started, well, this could be handled, okay, such and such is going to be excused because we took a vote prior that, I don't know.
Go back to think, as of a group, this is almost one of our executive session moments to say, you need to get the hell out of here.
There you go.
Be there.
I know, that's,
I did.
Yeah.
no.
Mhm.
Well, I'm not mentioning, I don't think it'd be on a bias of like a personal gain by profit. What I'm worried about is, let's say you had a couple board members that didn't see eye to eye on a subject, and one of them, us five work actually really well together, but I'm looking in the future, you have two board members that don't get along, and then they can slander you basically and saying, I know that you're against this. I'm not gonna, they're not gonna get any gain from it, but they're just doing it out of spite. And
Decision.
Yeah,
We got 5.
yeah. Yeah, somebody would have to make a motion, a second, and then a full vote. And hopefully, I mean, we have everybody, which it does happen, like, yeah, you said, but I mean, hopefully if you think you have a conflict of interest, it's something that's gonna be prior
Mhm.
to excuse yourself, that we don't have this. I mean, that's my hope.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants to call anybody out on the table in a public meeting. unless you absolutely have to, you know,
It is our hope, but then.
it
we've gotta
could
write
happen.
this For the future.
Yeah, I'm just
Absolutely.
thinking,
No,
that's
I
what I'm
agree.
thinking
It
just
needs
for
to
the
be in there.
future.
No, it absolutely needs to be in there. I'm just throwing that out there that I would hope we would all be professional enough to excuse ourselves.
I've seen it happen, you know, not with this group of people, but I have seen it happen and it's not fair. And just when you have a personal gain, that's when it really grates on you and there's not a damn thing you can do. And I just don't want somebody to do it just out of spite.
Yeah.
And I think you should excuse yourself, which I have talked to you and the other board members
Yep,
on
you
certain
have,
stuff that
yeah.
I've had conflicts with.
I mean, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me and ask those questions and I'll give you a professional answer or John, I can ask John too. So, yeah, I mean, that's,
It's
I
just
mean,
so
it needs to
vague.
Be in here, it does. We've
It's
gotta
just
have-
vague.
let me,
Well, then still this section in, a lot of this pulled out of. Or is this our rules? A lot of this is pulled from statute. And then,
I don't know if
Ours
I don't know where this is coming. I don't know where this was derived. I mean, I can tell you certain things that are in, like there is stuff in statute on elected officials, on ethical standards. Yeah, there is. But there's, as far as where this specific language came from, I'm not entirely sure. Because it was adopted so long ago, these conflict of
I
interest.
know, and then it's just like one of those things, as a board, we can alter that now that we know what's here. And we see something coming up in the future, we can say, let's.
Relook
adjust.
at bylaws.
We can adjust the bylaws, in the future. The next boards can adjust the bylaws. So, this is probably put together from a group of previous people of having been in a situation where they had a member.
Well, let's do this. Let me highlight it. Gather some more information on that. Maybe some more clear and concise language in there. Okay.
I think Commissioner Island though is right, though. You're probably right. It should be, you want as much transparency as you possibly
Yeah,
can. I
yeah.
agree with that, but you also don't want to air dirty laundry out in
No.
public either, so.
Yeah. Like it needs to be related to the actual
Yeah.
issue at hand, not just,
And yeah,
and maybe that's what it needs to be, is more clarifying language on that. Okay. Okay. Quorum possible in the event of the commission shall lack a quorum to hear a specific matter because of the disqualification of one or two members of the commission as provided for herein, and the absence of other members, it remaining possible to achieve a quorum should all members of the commission be present, the matter shall be continued until the next meeting of the commission. Alternatively, if upon full disclosure of the reasons for disqualification of the member, the party seeking action by the commission and all persons in attendance at the meeting to speak in opposition to the action sought shall consent to participation by the interested or biased member. The interested or biased member shall participate in the vote upon the matter concerned. In all cases where a member votes upon receipt of consent as described in this section, the record of the meeting shall contain a statement of the reason stated of the disqualification of the member and the names of those consenting to the participation of the member and the fact that the consent was sought and obtained. So basically what that's saying, well, I'm not going to have a quorum, right? Because there's not enough members. So agreeing upon all parties that they're okay to participate and vote. So that disqualified member can vote. That's what that's saying in a big giant paragraph. So interesting. Any comments on that? Let's keep in mind too, we are doing recommendations, too, so. But that's what that's saying.
it's just long-winded. I mean, it's just winded,
Yeah.
but
We've never had that happen, but we've been lucky enough to have, if somebody does have a conflict of interest, that we've had all five and just one gets up and then.
Yeah.
And we have four. Or we have four and then it's three, but we've just been lucky that, but this is in case you have three.
Well, it could happen, because Rob and I deal a lot together with some of the projects we work on,
Yeah.
you know, county, and we do work a lot together, and it could happen with Rob and I would have to actually leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no quorum, we move to the next meeting.
But you can, like you said,
It goes back to where we need to address.
or you could have three,
The
you could have
voting.
also have three.
Yeah.
So it's basically, so what it's saying, so, you know, the party seeking action by the commission, and all persons in attendance at the meeting to speak in opposition to the action. So if they're speaking against the application, but if there's not, right? The interested buyers shall participate in the vote upon the matter concerned. So it's basically taking in consideration if there's someone speaking against, they'd have to be okay with it. Bless you. We're feeling good about that paragraph, or we're not. What you're saying is it's not a controversial hearing.
Yeah.
If it is a controversial hearing, the
And-
person in opposition is gonna have to be to have consent in order for the hearing to carry with that biased member sitting there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because what you're saying as a biased member is, well, I'm biased in favor of this. Apparently. So that the person that's in opposition to it is saying, you know, I'm okay with you participating in it, even though you have a bias towards it. That's what they're saying. Very,
I think you have to maybe address the other ones we was talking about first.
okay,
Yeah.
let's do that and then,
Yeah, because that just, I don't know, Eric.
okay,
I agree.
well, it continues.
Yeah, and-
It
Or
gets even
possible.
more interesting. In the event the commission shall lack a quorum to hear a specific matter because of the disqualification of three or more members of the commission as provided for herein, each member of the commission shall participate in the discussion of and vote upon the matter, provided a statement describing the reasons for disqualification of interest or biased members be prepared and forwarded by the commission to the Board of County Commissioners along with its recommendation to said board.
We were just kicking the can down the street to county commissioners, let them deal with it.
Exactly what that is.
Well, they're describing why we voted the way. So when the commissioners get the information, they're saying, well, they voted. I've never had that happen, and I'd never say never, but,
Because
you-
then the county commissioners can actually make, you know, the recommendation from the P and Z is gonna be, you know, and you'll just have to put in there in your notes that this is what happened, and the commissioners.
and that's what that's what we do in,
Yeah.
so just, so you know, that's what we do in the staff report. So if there's something like that that does happen, we'll put it in there. So let's say you stated for the record, this situation came up, we would state in the staff report. It's not like I need something and we would, you know, make sure it's clear and concise as to what that information we're providing to the commissioners. But we'll provide that information if that ever situation came up.
And the P and Z members had to actually, or a few of them had to go to the commissioners meeting and,
Yeah.
you know, explain it. I think, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that'd be the way to go.
I think what we do is just like you suggested, I go in those prior paragraphs and see where it gets us in through these other ones and see where we're at. Okay. Presentation by disqualified members shall refrain from appearing before the commission in a private capacity to the extent possible, and in no event shall a member appear before the commission without having first disqualified himself or herself from participation regarding the matter. That's the leaving the room. Okay. Disqualified members, any member disqualified from participating in matter before the commission not appearing necessarily in a private capacity before the commission shall absent himself or herself from the meeting room during the discussion of and vote upon such matters he or she is disqualified participating in. There's the leave the room. But like I said, let's,
Go back and look some of the earlier.
yeah, and then let's,
Out
and then
of
let's
my
see.
head, I can see you have somebody disqualified because one of us is building something, now they're disqualified from it, and they have to have their permits, they're gonna have to appear before, but they've been disqualified, so now they can't represent themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
And as far as the ethical stuff, what I think I'd like to propose, because this organization is no longer, I don't remember what year they,
we can find, there's ethic, guidelines out there.
well, there is. And so like America, yeah, so
We have ones within the county, they have one, and we can adopt. We don't have to adopt this one. We can
Mhm.
adopt one that's been done and modify it to our.
right. And so American Planning Association has more like guidelines. I think that's more what you're trying to get at. And so when you're making a decision, you're following those guidelines is what you're doing. Those ASPO planning officials is no longer in existence. So I think that we have the standards of conflict of interest, which is the biggest concern, right? That we need to address. And then let's look at guidelines. And when you're making planning decisions, that's what you're more looking at. Are you looking at all the sides of the issue? Some guidelines. So in your decision-making process, you can follow. That's more what I think would be helpful for you than these standards that they have from this organization that are currently in there. So you have those before you, read through them. If you have any questions, if you want to keep those, we can keep them. But I think what would be more helpful for you is to have guidelines that say, okay, did I look at all the sides of the issue,
Yeah.
right? Did I, and they're real basic guidelines, like 1-page guidelines to follow, and they're on the American Planning Association. Something like that,
Yes.
where those are standards nationwide. Okay. I think that's more what
Simple but effective.
yeah. And they're things to aspire that you're trying to when you make those decisions. Not, oh, if you don't follow this, it's more of this is what you want to do to follow. Conflict of interest is always important, especially in planning decisions,
Yeah.
monetary, all that. So. Well, Madam Chair, that's all that I have. I've got your comments, and what I will do is we'll probably see where we're at, and then how many hearings do we have at the next meeting?
7.
Okay,
I know, I was.
so
gonna ask, do you
we're
wanna
not
do a
doing it at the next
special
meeting. No.
A special meeting to go back over these at a different time? Cause yeah, next month is crazy.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, I'll get with you and then the other members. Let's not schedule it yet,
Okay, yeah,
because we have quite a bit on our plate with all those hearings coming up. And then, and we'll want to do some research and make some changes and then come back to you and let's workshop it again.
Yeah.
Email.
Yeah, absolutely.
Copy with the changes so we can.
Yep.
Go back instead of trying to. go
I
through
didn't
my
wanna-
own notation.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it with what I had written in here because I kind of wanted to start from scratch with you and just say, that way you read through them.
Yeah.
And get your opinion on
Because I
what's
think
in
I'm
here.
gonna go home, look at this, I'm gonna find something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And send that in to me. Feel free to call me and say, you know what, I thought about this and make those changes.
New stuff in and we'll-
Yep. I'm totally fine with that.
yeah, we'll
Makes
go
Yeah.
back
us
over it.
about half this size.
Well, if you take
Take the policy manual out.
It's gonna be half that. size.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
And
Okay.
Eric, on the bias stuff, you're gonna, you're a pretty sharp guy. You're gonna have to, it's not something written in stone. You're just gonna have to figure out what to put in there. I've been kind of thinking about that too.
that's a hard one because
Yeah.
everybody brings something to
They do.
something. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
I-
that is a hard one.
I mean, I'm definitely in the position that, as far as staff goes, when we're presenting applications, what we do, and that's why you want to be as objective as possible with that, is here are the standards and regulations. And here is how that relates to the application that was presented. Right? In planning, you get subjective. I mean, that's just the way things do. It's more of a soft science with things, and zoning is. Well, especially with planning, I would say more than zoning. Zoning is more black and white, can be more very black and white, depending on how it's written. Megan's probably disagreeing with me right now, but it's but yeah, that language, very difficult. We don't want to get in a situation where, yeah, everybody's working great, but what happens if this composition changes? And it will over time, right? It just does. And so we have to look into the future. So I totally agree with that.
I agree.
Any other questions or comments?
Good job, Eric.
Yes. thank
Well,
you.
I mean, I just wanted to brainstorm this. It's one of those things I think that just got put on the back burner. It's like, and I was like, you know what, let's just get this. And and
Obviously,
Kelly has brought this up. And so I thought, oh, then I would have,
We delved into it and went, oh,
Oh,
boy, this is,
really
you
bad.
want current documents.
We have determined that Kelly has way too much time on his hands.
Yes, I agree.
Are you gonna go back and watch this, Kelly?
I watched his last one till I got bored and fast.
Ouch.
It was about time he started talking. I hit that board.
Ouch.
Yes.
That's all I have, Madam Chair. Oh, just one thing, just a communication to you. I met with Project West last week. That is a new, and this is okay to say because this is public and they want the information to get out there, but that's a new Trona mine that's going in. It's not the other one.
The solution mining?
It's another solution mining. This is a brand new project out by Granger. And so you'll see, I met with their attorneys last week and went over the zone map amendment applications that'll be necessary for it. And so you'll be seeing that before you, probably in the next 6 to 9 months, you'll see an application come in for that. But this is another Trona mine. This is completely different. It's on private. It's not on public.
Oh,
So
are we getting all this water for?
I will
solution
send you,
mining?
I'll send you the map of it.
Okay.
It's public. So they came out and held meetings for it and stuff. So, okay. But I thought I'd want to relay that information to you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. We will go ahead and adjourn. It is 11:42 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting stuff in there, guys.
Oh, my gosh.
I read through it and